Life. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the new episode of Royalty Cosplay Podcast. We are Matit and
Clara,
Hi, and we are very, very pleased that we're coming to you live today from GameGang Show 2024. A new experience for us as well. Today we will talk about something very interesting, cosplay and LARP. So we brought some friends with us, Anja Lotte and Valentina from Organisation Erea, our friends and fellow cosplayers and LARPers. But before we start with our topic, it's tradition in Royalty Cosplay Podcast to start with tea. So what are we drinking today, Klara?
my favorite, black vanilla tea, just because. And it's steaming hot, so be
That's so
careful.
nice.
It's good for the morning to wake us up a bit.
What's up with the tea on your podcast?
Every time I craft anything, LARP, cosplay, doesn't matter. I always drink like buckets and buckets of black tea just to keep me up and running. And that's actually as well how I picked my cosplay name, Black Tea
Black Tea.
Cosplay.
That makes so much sense now.
And it's also something that we have in common. We're both like tea a lot, so it was natural. So what we're gonna drink when we have these conversations, of course, it's gonna be tea. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I
can
think we're
pick mine?
also both a fan, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I do prefer Planinski chai, like the plain tea from Slovenia. Herbal
Okay.
tea, yes. It's very nice and it gives you energy.
Oh, it's hot.
Yeah, yeah. I warned you.
You did. I didn't hear. Okay.
So before we actually begin discussing whatever we're going to be discussing today, what actually is cosplay and what actually is LARP, it would be a good idea to actually tell people
To
that.
tell people what cosplay is, I'm gonna start with cosplay, and I always say, especially when I talk to normies, but no normies here today, cosplay is an art form. It's an art form where you take inspiration from a pre-existing character, from a known media source such as a movie, game, book, comic book, anime, etc., etc. And then you recreate the character's costume in any way that you can. You either craft it, you buy it, you mix the both, and then you play that character. So you take on their mannerisms, you take on their way of speaking, moving, sometimes even thinking. There's more than just this. This is the most mainstream version of cosplay. There are more styles that we discussed in one of our previous episodes. So if anyone's interested, you can go and check it out. But yeah, that's a small what is cosplay.
Anya, what is LARP?
Okay. Also, a very small description, but I tried to make it as vague as possible to encapsulate all the
Please
different
do.
styles. So, LARP is live action role playing, and that stands basically for people who come to an event, to a game, and dress up as characters, and then we role play these characters. There are no scripts, there is nothing pre-written usually. It's all about improvisation and having interesting new experiences.
It's also quite closed, so it's not a theater form. You're basically role-playing for other role players, and there are no observers, just other players having their characters. So, yeah.
And game masters.
Yeah.
And one important thing is, I would say, or like a cool thing is that for more traditional type games where we dress up full on in costume, we also hire like really cool venues like castles and, well,
Dungeons.
That's
meadows.
also amazing.
And also, what's it? Not the dungeon.
Bunkers?
Bunkers, yes.
Bunkers, dungeons, castles, maybe like even some governmental buildings.
We
Yeah.
also LARPed in like a forest, no discrimination.
Sometimes, and
Yeah.
it's equally cool.
Or in Europe, for example, or in Canada, in USA, there are even fantasy villages that are there to hire for the fantasy events, but also for LARPs. For example, we know in Netherlands there is a whole village, medieval village, that is hired for different kind of LARPs, like even zombie medieval LARP, which is bizarre.
Yeah, like the whole village is just for LARP.
Yeah.
Nothing
That
else.
sounds amazing. Oh my god. We have to experience this one. Have you ever been to a place like that?
Yeah, actually, for years we're going to a place in Sweden called Hastekassen Farm, and there we now also help to organize a LARP called Gimle LARP. And it is, really cool. It has a lot of fantasy buildings there.
And also, it has like last year it had like 250 players, which is a lot. And imagine just 250 players being in costumes, walking around, role playing with each other, like a bard or merchant or like a fantasy queen.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. Uh, let's start with how you girls started. I know that all three of you all LARP before. I'm a virgin in LARPing. I haven't tried it before. I'm very interested in it. But what was your first LARP costume? Where did you start?
Me. My LARP, it was probably my elven character that she's still alive today, just on pause. But she was just a simple elven character. I only had like ears and a skirt made of curtains. So nothing elaborate or elvish, but it worked. And that was my first LARP character. I forgot what her name was when I was asked in game. I was practicing her name for half an hour in my car. When somebody actually asked me, I forgot, and now she has a different name because I made it up on the spot.
The same thing happened to me with a dwarf character, literally the same.
I think I still remember my first character's name, and she's still alive. She's an orc warrior girl, and her name is Kargal. And my first LARP character was actually from Slovenian Bilesia LARP. It's one of the biggest LARPs in Slovenia, and one of the only ones in Slovenia. But yeah, what is interesting is that my first character was fully like non-human. And I think since then I really like to play non-human characters or other monstrous creatures.
It's addictive. It's addictive.
Oh yeah, me. I can't remember the name of that character at all. It was, I think, a human. It was also on the Slovenian Bilesia LARP. I think most of us started there. And well, the only valuable thing I can actually remember about this character is the funny story of I made a full-on, I was super excited. I made like a full-on costume, sewing all night. And then we come to the location, and it's a green forest, and I look at my full costume, and it's completely red and yellow. And then they tell me, oh, by the way, we are here on a mission hiding from orcs.
Stealth.
From us.
You can guess how you can guess how that ended. I was chased by 4 of them. You were so fast.
No. You were a decoy.
Yes.
Yeah. What was your first? I mean, I know what your first cosplay character was, but
my first character was Edward Scissorhands in
nice.
2011, but I never got to cosplay it at a convention because I started with conventions in 2018. So it was a big period of time where I didn't go to conventions because I was this into it, and I was not really that much into checking things on the internet, I guess. But yeah, the first thing I ever did was Edward Scissorhands. That was my first,
Yeah. You almost said it, but I'm going to say it for you. Not checking the internet for events like this. That's completely normal because people don't even register in their minds, hey, probably something exists. We're just like hiding back. Yeah. Because I know for my first LARP, I didn't even know it exists in Slovenia until I went on a convention and I saw their stand. Mm-hmm. And they were like, yeah, we are having LARP. Yeah. And I joined.
It's easier today because we're all on social media and on different platforms, but back then, I mean, not that back so far back, but it was a different period.
Before Corona.
Yeah, before Corona, yeah. However, there is still a difference between LARPing and cosplay in this regard, because usually you share a lot of cosplay photos and everything, but people don't share that much of their LARP experiences.
I mean, it depends, because I think certainly LARP is more closed-up society. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are like closed Facebook groups, Discords, and people do share a lot of things in those groups, but those images or videos, they not always go like out in the public unless it's like budget, like
Unless you hire a photographer and like make official photos, and those
Yeah.
are usually shared. But there is a good reason that LARP is often more in like in closed groups, because on LARPs you go through a lot of different experiences. In some of them you can get a bit vulnerable, or maybe I know a lot of people who, for example, have a job but don't want to be seen with a horse with a red face, for example. It's not for everybody. So that is often the reason why a lot of pictures are first held back for quite a while and then shared when people on the photos actually consent.
If anybody has any worries, whatever here is today, we have approval and
yes.
are allowed to present them
Yeah.
to you. But yeah, these are all from.
Every now and then the white screen in my eyes.
Yeah. These pictures are from LARPs before COVID and events like this. So
You can also find us with these links and QR codes. We have a group on Facebook, and you can.
And we do share some pictures.
So as we said, I never LARP before, but I must say I'm very interested in it for a while now. So how could I start?
well, you're on a good way because you already cosplay.
Well,
So we
halfway
have
there.
costumes down.
It's actually in Slovenia. We try to lower the bar for first people for first LARPers to participate in, because, for example, we know how hard it can be, like to get the firstly to get the costume, then to buy tickets, then to travel to the venue. And in Slovenia, we have this great advantage is that it's quite small. And it's quite centralized as well. And if we organize LARP-connected events, we try to organize it in Ljubljana or around Ljubljana, so it's easily accessible for people from all over Slovenia. And we also try to make, with the help of European Union, our events, most of our events, we try to make for free. That's, I think, a very good start. Like, you just come to us or like contact us, ask us about LARP you want to participate, or like, are there any LARPs on schedule? And we just answer you, and you come to us.
Actually, the thing is that we ran a study in Slovenia on like what is the biggest obstacle to people coming to the first LARP, and we presented that on a Portal convention a few years ago. But I would say that one of the most important insights into it that there need to be events.
Yeah.
You
Like
take care of that.
Active events, yes.
Active events, and then also meetups are something that really helps. So if you're like feel a bit intimidated maybe to come to the first LARP, although there is no need to feel like that because we're all nice.
You don't bite sometimes,
usually, without consent, which is very big deal in LARPs. Then you are very welcome to sort of come to the meetups, or just maybe join one of our LARP days, which is what Valentina was talking about before, where we make like these short form LARPs that don't really require costumes, but generally just allow yourself to be excited enough, and maybe bring a friend. Everything is easier when you are with a friend.
That's what cosplay and LARP have in common.
Yeah,
Everything
that's
is
true.
easier with friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, how to start?
And more fun.
And more fun.
Yeah.
Yes, we also even as Erea, we even possess some library of costumes that you can we can give to you as a newbie LARPy, and we are planning, like, as a LARP community in Slovenia, we are planning on organizing LARP workshops for making your costume, for sewing, for leather work, and other things that can really help you not only in LARP but also in cosplay or costume making, or just generally, sewing for fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's probably something that in cosplay, I heard rumors that there's active workshops for cosplay in Slovenia.
Are they?
Well, there's definitely at every convention there's a group of people who help you if you need anything. Like if something goes wrong with your cosplay, they're gonna help you with glues and safety pins and stuff like that.
First aid for cosplayers.
First aid, yeah.
No, but I meant like before convention, like to help you make a costume. I have to look it up, but I think it was like a group somewhere. I have to look it up.
Not sure.
Yeah. Research.
Well,
Google it.
Yeah.
Google it. But in Slovenia, I can tell you that this year is an excellent year to start, because all of the LARP initiatives that are here, so LARP Belisia and Zavod Erea, we are planning LARPs and workshops and all that jazz. So this is a very good year to come.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are also working and collaborating a lot with Amulet D20, Amulet Adviset, Društvo in Medvode and in Ljubljana. And if you just, if you forgot about us or like forgot how we called, just come to them and ask them about those LARPers that organize LARP, small LARP days.
Vsak četvrtek. V Medvodah.
Medvode.
So how do you start with making the character for a LARP event?
That usually depends on the event and the theme of the LARP.
Okay. There's usually a topic.
Yeah, so every LARP you go to, you learn about the setting. So what sort of universe, is it that a known universe? If not, if it's original, you can probably read some things about it. And then you often, when you create a character, there are 2 or 3 different types of characters. If you're a player, you can usually create an original character or get a somewhat pre-written character. So that basically means that it enables you to have conflicts and fun game without...
But that's the difference between cosplay and LARP, because in cosplay, we usually cosplay characters that are known.
Yeah.
For example, you're Paul. Okay, I am an original character, but I'm coming from Dune, so you know the universe, yeah. But in LARP, usually the whole character is like OG character. For example, I have no idea who these creatures are. So you can introduce your LARP characters right now if you have any names.
I think my character is a tiefling from fantasy universe, perhaps D&D, perhaps some world inspired by D&D, and her name is Sagan. Could be.
And I am currently dressed as my character from the Swedish Gimle LARP, and that is Her Majesty, well, used to be Majesty herself, Daniela Griffin, Stone Crown Wolvenshield, because marriages.
So see, nobody will know who this is.
Yeah.
And she is not exiled anymore, just saying.
She's not what?
She's also not a murderer
Exiled.
and not, what is it called? Brutal...
Queen? Yes.
Brutal queen, yes. Definitely not a brutal. Very gentle queen that we all love.
You can see very gentle, yeah.
So, and that's another LARP difference between cosplay and LARP. In cosplay, if you cosplay a known character, everybody will already know the anecdotes that this character went through.
Yep.
They can play it out on a convention with you or anything. In LARP, you actually have to listen to people and their past experiences because nobody will know.
You have to get to know the person just like you would get to know someone in real life, basically. Yeah. Okay. That's amazing.
What was the original question again?
What was the original question? Who knows? Also, the big difference is the props that we use in cosplay and that you use in LARP. I see here a little bit of a presentation of that.
I think we can make a very quick comparison because I see that you also have a weapon there. So I think that the main
it's a little bit cheap.
the main difference that there is, I would say, is that LARP weapons have to be safe because they will be used. This is made of foam covered with latex. You also have a bit different varieties. But basically, you can hit each other with that in specific places and not die, which is a nice thing. Yeah, usually you go for the extremities, not for the head, neck, or body.
Yeah, there's rules about it.
There's rules actually
no
where you
hitting
can
the
hit.
head or unwritten rule to spare
it's
the
not like
genital.
if I hit you in the head, it's 50 points. If I hit you, I'm just kidding.
It is very much not like that.
And in cosplay, I mean, this is passable for convention. In
Should
LARP,
be passable.
yeah,
Yes.
in LARP, the organizer will just take it away
away,
and return it after the
Yes,
after the event.
So no sharp objects, no. So 3D printing is something that's maybe no.
No, it has to be very soft. I mean, the core also is, it's hard. It's hard acrylic. But the thing is that usually, on most LARPs, it's forbidden to stab unless it's a special stab weapon because of the real danger of, being stabbed for real. And for example, with this, I think 3D printed knife, you can easily stab a person on a LARP.
Actually
So
Don't do that.
please don't do it, yes.
And it's so soft.
Yeah.
Light.
And light, yeah.
Even though on a lot of like really big LARPs, a lot of weapons could really look like real-like. They're still LARP weapons, and yeah, they have certain rules and how to take care of them.
On bigger LARP events, I saw people with bricks.
Bricks.
It was a weapon,
Okay,
a foam brick.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it
Oh,
was
that's
amazing
kinda clever.
from afar or even from up close. It looked so real, but then the person actually threw it at somebody. And I was like, what's going on? And it was a foam brick.
Throwable
Yes.
weapon,
Yeah.
a brick.
Yeah.
Okay. How real did it look?
Like cosplay convention, cosplay competition passable.
Well,
So if a LARP would be happening in some abandoned house with real bricks somewhere, someone could mistake a real brick and throw it.
I mean, it would be like
Hopefully
the
not, but-
Moment the moment you touch it, you know it's
Yeah.
the actual thing. But the funny thing is, at home I made like a little stone, and when we were organizing this LARP in Sweden, my co-organizer was super busy writing on the computer, and I never showed her this LARP prop stone. And so basically, I took the stone and I acted like I tripped and threw the stone on her laptop, like she believed it was real.
Oh, poor,
Might
poor.
have been a bit of a troll move for me, but you know, she needed a bit of a wake up.
Also, huge disclaimer: on the LARP, we don't always fight, and fight is a result something for someone who is ready to fight. So, for example, you have usually workshops how to use LARP weapons, how to fight with LARP weapons, how to like act like you're fighting. So it's a little bit of stage theatrical fighting, and it's very it's not you're not pressured to fight or to have weapon. You just
It's up to you to choose your own
Yes,
experience
yes.
usually. But stage fighting can look so real. Like
It is, it
Valentina
is.
knocked me out a few times already, like
Oh, no.
fake knocked me out, and it was beautiful.
Is this something that is preordained? Like, do you make a plan? Okay, we're gonna fight, and I'm gonna win.
It
Or-
depends. It depends on a LARP and the mechanics of that LARP. So the rules, each LARP setting would have different rules. So yeah, sometimes it's spontaneous and you just go for it, but inside the mechanic rules for fighting. But sometimes it's like pre-talked. For example, you have a beef
Yes.
with my character, and we will go like this. So you want to take it out? Oh, you're gonna take it. Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
And we exit the room. We discuss who wins, and we come back. Oh boy, you totally beat me.
And how do you make
And
a
make a
decision?
scene.
Like, is it like, I don't know, in D&D you throw dice, or how do you decide?
Again,
Paper, scissors.
depends on the LARP and the
Yes.
setting. But
sometimes it's really up to mechanics. Sometimes, for example, if your character is playing like a warrior, and there's like some low scoundrel that wants to fight with you, of course, as a revered warrior, you will win over. And you know your character is established that way, so everyone knows that. For example, he or she is or them is a good fighter, for example.
except if you want character development and you, as a warrior, decide, I'm going to lose on this LARP.
Exactly,
And you
yes.
on purpose find somebody and lose on purpose to them. But also, you usually have a character with stats of some sort, more often on like one-shot events. We can discuss events. But one-shot events usually have more strict character sheet. Because you have to have your stats in order. But for longer period LARPing, your character develops as it does, and it gets renowned, and everybody
you
knows
change.
who you are, and they're not gonna poke you if you seem dangerous, you know.
I could basically summarize the whole like fighting in LARP in a there is fighting that can be skill based, and there is fighting that can be mechanic based or like character based, and these are different types. There is a lot of theory or like a lot of details we could go to, but this is the general
Or even
idea.
role-playing based.
Yeah,
Because-
could be. Yeah.
My picture with a wand will show up, and we had like a rule: whoever is fastest with a wand wins. I was winning all the time.
For example, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that also works. Speaking of your costumes, you already said that there is a character development. So the logical conclusion would be that your costumes also develop then.
Yes,
through
they might develop over time. For example, if you're entering, for example, the fantasy world as a peasant, you have very plain costume. But then, if you, for example, become a queen or a prince or a baron, of course, your costume also will change with you. And this is the beauty of it, because you can really develop yourself within certain fantasy world.
I would also say you can develop the character's costume, like it happened to me to this character. She was exiled for perhaps stabbing the new queen. Details. And basically I had to strip myself of the red color, because this is essentially the color of my faction that I used to be in. And then by the emperor, I was forced to join his faction, which is purple. So basically, I am being a little bit of a rebel now, showing up in red.
Ooh.
Maybe he's
I
gonna
would
see
be on a
you.
LARP.
Maybe he watches the podcast and he's gonna see you.
Yeah, so
Maybe.
That's my plan.
and that's another difference between cosplay and LARP, because in cosplay we usually strive to come at least to conventions, especially if you compete, with a finished, on-point costume of that character that was seen in media, that everybody recognizes and sees.
There's no development.
In LARP, it doesn't actually matter as long as you, for example, if you have a fraction that has certain team color, you're free to dress however you want, however your cosplay character, however your LARP character wants. And usually for the first timers, LARP costumes can be very simple. Just to, I'm just gonna try out LARPing and it's not for me. I'm not gonna invest 400 euros in my armor, full body armor. And it also depends on the seasons. Like,
my costume is made for Swedish summer weather, which is still colder than right now.
Also, speaking about seasons and temperatures, that brings me to I think one of the key difference between cosplay and LARPing, like costumes, is that when you're cosplaying, you don't have to have really what's called durable or, for example, comfortable clothing. So it's made for convention for one maximum 2 or 3 days for 3, 4, 5 hours. But LARP costumes is another tale, because a lot of LARPers that I asked, they really prefer natural materials, because LARPing is actually sometimes could be very physically exhausting, especially, for example, if you're running in the forest for 10 hours. Of course, you have to have something that is very comfortable, that you can wear for long hours, and that's why a lot of LARPers prefer natural materials, some, leather, linen, cotton, of course, and
things that breathe with you.
And you can dress multiple times, especially if you're going on LARP multiple times, episodes.
Yes. Definitely, it's a good investment. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, because you can circle things around and you can lend it to friends. Even I've seen some people cosplay with some LARP items. They make
layers. Or weather layers, like summer outfit, winter outfit.
I can say that, for example, I LARPed in a Dutch November, in Netherlands in November, and it was 1 or -2, but the humidity was so high, and the only thing that was helping me is layers of wool, of 100% wool and linen and cotton. Otherwise, I would be dead. Yeah.
So all the weathering on your costume is actually real from rolling
Most of
around.
Not necessarily, but sometimes
it happens. It just happens. Even if you don't want to have weather. And also in LARP, we usually try to hide things that are not time appropriate, like zippers in fantasy medieval.
Do you even use those? Do you use zippers?
We do. Shoes
with zippers. Here.
Okay.
It doesn't exist. We don't see this.
Yes.
No, but that's difference between cosplayers on conventions. We can choose whenever we are in character and when we are just Matic and Klara. in LARP, when event starts, usually you have timeout zones, specifically for those that cannot stay in character any longer. So the whole event area usually is reserved. It's expected of you to be that character.
Yeah.
And you don't break that character. And seeing like a turquoise pink zipper on a shoe will break that immersion.
Yeah.
At
Break
least
the
for me.
fantasy.
Yeah, yeah.
It also depends on, of course, levels of LARP. For example, for beginners, a lot of people can close eyes for, like, oh, you have a zipper, no problem, you're just, a beginner. But for example, I know even historically accurate LARPs where people can get really picky about the costumes of others, or for example, their costumes. So it has to, made like from natural materials, from like time appropriate, like historically, like very, very appropriate.
Like, it's frowned upon if you're a LARPer for 8 years and still show up with a pink T-shirt underneath.
No.
Except
I
if
get
it's a
it.
pink T-shirt event.
And on some games, this is considered like a strike. So you will, if you get a few strikes, you can be
You're
asked
out.
to leave the game, for
Okay.
example. Yes.
Yeah.
You didn't know that?
No, I
Okay,
didn't.
yeah. So, for example, pouches are your best friends, usually even bigger ones, because then you can put your precious valuables inside. Although, to be honest, when you're LARPing, in certain settings where phones are not needed for the setting itself, just forget about a phone. It's so fun to just run around and have all the scrolls with you and like character stuff.
I just can say that, for example, there are like many, many different kind of LARPs with many people, and there are also like a big worldwide known LARPs as Mythodia or Drakenfest, and they can have like up to 10,000 people. And of course, on this LARP, there are a lot of things that can throw you off, like for example, medical cars or some constructions that also help during the game. And on that LARPs, of course, you just pretend that you don't notice it. Same goes with some off shoes or like off phones. If someone tripped and need to change his shoes, of course you will not gonna come to that person and say like, "Hey, your shoes are not historically appropriate." So yeah, LARPs can be very different, and there are even some LARPs that set in post-apo setting that you can use everything on yourself. Use some trash bottles, aluminium cans, everything
Yeah.
goes there. Yeah.
And of course, LARPs are so different. The short form LARPs that we sometimes organize, which last for like 2 hours of in-character time, for example, often we don't even require actual costumes because it's more about the role-playing than
Exactly.
about the production of the game. But then again, you have what I call more traditional LARPs, so like you're fully in the costume, and you have also the other end of the spectrum where you can pay for like 800 euros, for example, for a very high production game. But then you get a castle, you get actual magic effects, you get all the costumes, all the props are looking so real. So there's a big difference, but I want to say that nothing is better than the other. There are just different types and different genres, and people can do whichever, and it's all fun.
Yeah, it depends on the mindset of the players. It's if you're up for it and come to a LARP, it's your mindset will probably already be this is going to be awesome. This is going to be amazing.
I mean, especially if you're in a castle, it's gonna be probably easier to get in the character.
Yes.
I LARPed in a basement in normal 2020 clothes.
Yeah.
It was almost better than a castle LARP I was attending once.
It
It really depends on the people, on the setting, on the immersiveness, and like
of
how
the plot of the game, of
and
the
role playing of others.
I mean, that said, like, in this LARP in Sweden, for example, something that happens is absolutely beautiful. Like, usually this is a forest with a few fantasy buildings,
yes.
it's okay. There are a few gates. I mean, it's amazing to be there and amazing to look at the things that Gimle community has created over the years. But then, you come there as a player, and then you start dressing up, and then magic happens. When there is in time, that means that we all go into character in that area, you just start feeling different. Like everything changes somehow.
Yes.
It gets this aura of something. Of course, it might be just mind playing tricks on us, but I've seen this do wonders for people who haven't LARPed before or who are like new to the LARPing, because you don't have to, start doing anything immediately.
I got goosebumps.
Yes.
Basically, you just observe the world around you. Everything starts happening, and it just sucks you in, like literally.
It's even more intense, like when you're cosplaying.
Yeah,
in
bet
these
it
big
is.
LARPs, for example, you can just enter in and hear, for example, medieval music played by bards on or proper medieval instruments, or like lutes, or some drums, and people singing with chants. And of course, when you're LARPing outside in a forest, the huge part of the LARP experience is a fire, like a fire circle or cooking with the fire. And just imagine like entering some village and there is a fire in the center and people are, going around dancing, chanting. It's like you're stepping into a video game like Witcher, for example, or Skyrim.
Yeah.
It's very immersive.
But it's real.
It's real.
And nostalgia hits you when you get home and you have to wash those fiery clothes because of the fire smell. And
Wait, you wash them?
It's a thing. Yes, I wash my LARP clothes.
In the river.
But there is an expression, post-LARP blues. So yeah,
Expression.
it's a thing.
That's the same in
Yeah,
cosplay conventions.
Post-convention blues maybe for cosplayers.
So I guess that being in character is not that hard. I mean, for a long period of time. Did you ever have any problems with that?
Oof, yes. So the biggest thing is it depends how hardcore you go, and there is no pressure for anybody to go hardcore. It is only up to your own choosing.
When you say hardcore, what does that mean?
I mean how different the character will be from yourself. It's usually not advised to actually just go there as yourself, because then people don't really get immersed. We usually say for the beginners, try to pick 2 qualities from your own persona and then emphasize them, or like steer them in a different direction. If I'm very kind, let's try to be at least a bit more cunning or devious character and stuff like that. By the way, the more evil you go, the harder it usually gets.
Exactly.
But also a very big part of this is that if you pick something, like in cosplay, I see people often wearing wigs, often, portraying this character a very certain way. But in LARPs, it can get tiring, especially if you're in multi-day LARP. So you have to be quite strategic about what mannerisms will you pick. Like, for one LARP, I learned how to have this French accent.
Oh, oui, oui.
Oui, oui. And it became really hard to, roleplay
To
like
keep
that.
it up.
Okay.
It became really hard to roleplay like that for hours. I've seen people with wigs and they were like, dying below.
Inside.
It's dying inside as well. Heat exhaustion is something that is very big in LARPs. Like, that is the #1 enemy in LARPs. Not the actual orcs, it's the heat exhaustion.
So
when you're
stay
fighting the
hydrated.
orcs.
And huge warning, like please do hydrate. Please like always hydrate, even in LARP or
That
like
goes
cosplay.
for
Drink
both.
some
Yeah,
tea.
that goes for both cosplay and LARP. But it's usually in LARP, at least in medieval fantasy, we will have a tavern. So it's in character drinking. So
Okay.
you get your hydration that way. But in cosplay, we forget because we're silly.
Please don't.
In LARP, people usually forget to eat. I mean, probably in cosplay as well,
Yeah.
but like drinking can sometimes be in the taverns, but then food is a different thing, because often this situation happens. You come into a tavern, everything's beautiful, the food smells delicious. You're about to sit down, and then someone runs in, orcs have attacked! And of course you have to go there.
Jesus Christ, flipping the table, let's go.
Yes, let's do it. Let's slaughter some
Literally.
orcs.
And then before you know it, you're like, oh, it's time to go to bed, because otherwise I'm not gonna get my mandatory 3 hours of sleep.
3 hours, Jesus.
Sometimes you don't even sleep on the LARPs because you want to be everywhere all the time, and that's also the problem. I mean, I think it's just very common in festivals. You want to attend as many things as possible, to experience as many things as possible, especially when you travel like very far away.
Yeah,
for this
conventions
specific
are
event.
kind this way because they open and close.
Yes, at the
and
same time.
cosplayers can go back to the hotel. I mean, hopefully.
Or after party.
Or after party, but still, you get your time off to do whatever you want. Sleep, drink, party. But in LARP, it's multi-day events don't end and stop usually. You go sleep in your character
Yeah.
and wake up as a character. So
Well,
whatever
there
you
are-
do in your free time, it's not actually free time.
There are some strategies, though, that game masters are beginning to use a lot. And it's they often say, oh, we are going to be present here for all the fun plot and NPCs, the supporting players, will be here only until like 1 in the morning. So after that, you're strongly advised to go to sleep because you know not much will happen. But yeah, I think this is something that LARP players should very like focus on, and we should improve as a community on the sleeping time. Some people get it right. Others like us are still learning. Yeah.
Also, I would say that some LARPs, especially bigger LARPs, are very speaking about like the players community. In bigger LARPs, you can also bring your even children or teenagers with you, which is really cool. Like they're like whole family LARPers, and it's very cute to see, for example, a family of elves sitting around the fire, you know, with their
Or a
kids.
little tiefling.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my go-to.
Yeah, and the children are often so immersed into the game, like it's crazy. Like I had one situation where I was being the queen sitting in my royal chair, and everybody went off to fight somewhere, and also the Vikings, who by the way stole our pole with a flag. So I'm sitting there not wanting to go to the battle, taking a few moments for myself, and I see this like tiny girl coming to me and being like, "Excuse me, my queen," and she bowed and everything. I was like, wow, super impressed. And she's like, "We found your flag. If we bring it back, are we going to be rewarded?" And I say, "Of course you're going to be rewarded." And so I have this situation a few minutes later with like 2 little girls bringing me like 3-meter wooden pole with our flag, stealing it from the Viking camp. Like,
Nice.
amazing.
Very brave
What
of
was
them.
the reward?
Of course, gold. I had gold on me, as I do now. Always have gold on you.
5 minutes.
Questions for the public?
Yeah, we will get there. We will get there. 5
You
minutes.
will
Oh
not
my
be
God.
forgotten.
But we have so much to talk about. 5 minutes.
To be continued, next part.
We have 15 more minutes.
Oh,
but
that's nice. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
No, we
global.
Alia just said we have 5 minutes.
5
No,
minutes.
5 minutes or 15? 5 minutes.
Okay.
They
5
said
minutes.
I
Wrapping
think.
it
Thank
up,
you,
wrapping
Alia.
it
Yeah.
up. Okay.
I mean,
We said where people can find you to join if they want to. We will get. Let's do some questions then right now.
Maybe before we would just want to like emphasize like the future events that are coming for for LARP community for the people who are interested in. So, for example, Anja can start with a big LARPs pirate LARP Tales of Erea and Slovenian fantasy LARP Belicia. So.
Yeah, so as I said, this year a lot more is going to be happening finally after the COVID took a big toll on us, yes. And basically all the initiatives in Slovenia that are currently planning bigger LARPs, meaning full costume LARPs, for the autumn. So if not sooner than then, you can figure out a costume. There are going to be
I have
workshops
whole year
until
left
then.
to decide. I have a whole year left to decide.
But
for an
before
event.
that, you are very much welcome to come to our games, which we organize.
I think like almost every month. It's a small game. It's very easy to come to. You don't need to have a costume. You don't need to have a previous experience. Just contact us. For example, the next LARP diplomatic game that we will gonna have, it's gonna be like on 19th of April, very soon, in the center of Rock. So please keep up with us.
It's gonna be in partnership with the European Youth Week. As we said, we do Erasmus Plus project as well, so it's going to be free, and you can come LARP there. If that doesn't strike you as a fun thing, then please, you're welcome to come to our city game called Forgotten Gods, which is also going to be happening soon. We're going to link everything, so.
Okay. Okay.
This is pictures from this game. As you can see, like people were not in costumes; they were just having fun. Yeah.
Okay. Questions?
I have a question. If you have a favorite like LARP moment, either as a character or just like something that happened before or after the LARP when everyone was hanging out, and for Matit, similarly, con experience?
yes, I do. I was at a wizard school LARP, and they had a potion class, and the potion master presented all the potions on the front table and especially pointed out to a poisonous ingredient. And me and my partner, who we were investigators, pretending to be wizards or something like that, and we zoomed in on that, and he snatched it without anybody noticing right away. And the main organizer of the LARP was also in time, and he was working with us as investigators, and he came up to us like 15 minutes or 20 minutes later. So guys, on the table there's an ingredient we really have to get our hands on because it's the most important ingredient for the deadly poison. And we went like, he had it in his pocket, and he went with his hands inside, and I went like, not even looking at him, you mean this one? And he just did. It was a moment, and I think the picture was somewhere here with us laughing our asses off, and he just like going away. Yeah.
Yeah, for me it was when I was a priestess in a medieval fantasy LARP, and throughout all the game I had this companion, actually a teenage Swedish boy, and he was so immersive, and he helped me a lot with the quest, with some orc attacks, and other priestly things like teachings and sermons. And at the end of the game, he said to me, like in character, and said like that he wants to follow my priestess till the end of the world. And it was such a flattering moment when another player just expressed those warm emotions, and I was crying in real, and it was very sweet. It was just great experience to make someone's others experience so grateful that they want to follow you in character till the end of the world. Yeah.
For me, one of my favorite LARP moments is that, well, the time that I've eaten banana with a pill on.
What?
This is a longer story, but basically I was being a diplomat as a queen, and I went to a different faction, a more Oriental inspired, and they were the only ones who could bring hisaf, which is a banana. And they gifted me this hisaf, and of course I was like, let's make play out of this, because my character probably never saw a hisaf before. So I took the banana and I bit into it sideways with a peel on, and they nearly combusted it alongside with me. It was the most hilarious thing. But
what about me? I'm just gonna go back to yesterday because I cannot get over it. It never happened to me before that kids would come up to me and like he did like this, then he turned it around and there was candy in it.
That's so sweet.
Like, yeah.
Very sweet.
Yeah, and then he came back, same thing. I was like, okay. That's a very short story because we're out of time. Any other questions? We have a minute.
I have a quick question for Matic and Klara. If you had unlimited resources, time being also one of them, what would you like to cosplay?
Where to start with our cos plans? Oh my god. I have so many plans. So many plans. If I you go first, I'm gonna think.
I was trying to buy time for myself. I don't know, but the first one that comes up to me in my mind is Kia from Broken Sky, and I think we have to finish. So answer, and then we are ending.
What I've been working on in my head for years now, I want to crossplay, gender bend, Poison Ivy, and I want to do some life plans with it. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to work it out. I'm still thinking about it, but that's something that I'm really interested in. If I'm able to somehow add living plants and that they stay alive for a very long period of time.
I have never cosplayed before. I gotta come clean on that. But I do really want to cosplay at one point. So hopefully I will also get some tips from you how to do that. And I really want to cosplay a fawn from The Magicians. If you maybe know the show, but it's probably a very tough costume. I don't know. And hot.
I actually came to LARP from cosplay, and I still have a lot of cos plans. But my nearest cosplay will gonna be probably Iris von Everek from Witcher 3. But it's a long game. Still need to have dress sewn. So.
More questions? That's it. Okay, great. Thank you for today. Thank you for joining us live. Thank you to GameGang Show 2024 for hosting and broadcasting. And we will see you online in about 2 weeks, 1 week, when we're going to talk about the upcoming Umiko convention in Koper. So thank you again and have a nice convention. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hvala lepa za Erea in Royalty Cosplay podcastu. Ostanite še z nami za naslednji panel. Govorili bomo o miniaturnih vojnih igrah, tako da če vas zanima Warhammer, če vas zanimajo ostale miniature wargames, prosim, ostanite z nami naslednja okrogla miza je ob 12.